So based on what you said, very helpful to me. You've got a job that is requiring a lot of mind, but is also probably encouraging identification with mind on a
In a
daily.
nutshell,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I've been in love with my thinking and in my head for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I have to, I'm a lawyer, as you know, I have to think and answer and preempt and predict. It's just been me and my thinking are one. It's just putting a wedge between the two, I think.
You said as a result of that, you've got some pains that kind of come and go, and that's just that. Oh, the way I would take that is that there are some blockages in the energetic layer of the body from
Absolutely.
so much mental constriction around it.
That's right. I think 5 years ago, I started getting aches and pains and general tension, and went down the route of medically, there's something wrong with me, to ultimately find out,
Yeah.
rheumatologist, psychologist, everybody, nothing physically wrong, everything's a-okay, but tension and constriction, and I think it's just a dysregulated nervous system. I think that's the way to describe it, where everything's bouncing around and tension, inexplicable, that can it's and I just, the more I try and work it out, which is me, the more it constricts, and I think it's just like double bind, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
Chinese finger trap. The more I'm pulling and pushing and trying to solve, because that's what I do and that's how I see it, the more, and it's just finding that, getting the wedge in between me, the thinking, and the ease, and you say it all here. It's, you've been through it.
There was very heavy identification with the mind. And there was this idea that the mind is going to get its way out of a puzzle. All these dead ends, but one of these has to be right, which is kind of, insane. If it hasn't
Absolutely.
worked for, however many
Yeah.
years. But the mind without awareness is not sane. It bounces around all over the place.
Mm.
And most humans spend a good amount of energy just trying to cover that up.
Yeah. 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 I feel that so much energy is wasted. No
Yeah.
wonder I'm constantly shattered.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there is a mode that is just beneath this mental attempt to understand.
Mm.
And I think you've watched some videos, so you may
Mm.
have heard me talk about the koshas, the different layers of the body, but these kind of work. um, you have the physical layer, and that is the sort of densest, most gross layer, and then
Yeah.
you work your way to the subtler. Wisdom and bliss are subtler than even the mental, and the mental layer doesn't have, a location. The mind is not a thing, it's a process.
Mm.
So we have to be willing to move past the appearance and the physical feel of
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
But if there's all this pain in the body, it
Mm.
tends to then absorb the attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever worked with Vipassana meditation or heard of
No,
it?
I have heard of it, but I've never worked with it. No, the most I've done on a
Oh,
physical level, I've had some somatic. I've tried the fascia manipulation, which I think you qualified
yeah.
in. I've had that to some success, but I think what I've gone along with and what I've been having is like somatic experiencing. Just being with the, the feeling, and trying to sort of be okay with the discomfort, and even some touch as well. I still have occasional where I just like lie still for, and just some holding, which does help.
The
Yeah.
way it has been experienced here is that as long as there are mental imbalances, so as long as there are beliefs being held into, being bought into,
Mm.
that are then resulting in a constant barrage of thoughts that are wrapping the attention,
Yeah.
there will continue to be input into the physical body,
Right.
contraction. The body is like our dashboard. It's like
Mm,
our instrument panel for what's going on in mind and energetic levels.
wow.
There's nothing wrong with the body. It's showing us exactly. It's like our physical evidence to
Yeah.
go back to mind and correct at that level.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah.
So, yeah, with somatic experiencing, that can be really great to clear out the space.
Mm,
We have to clear out the mind.
mm,
In a
mm.
sense. I mean, that's a
That
illustration.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, in order to not keep having to go back to that.
Mm,
The way we do that is actually effortless. And that is the thing that is so simple that we miss it.
mm,
I started to say before there's a mode that that is behind the mind or is precedes the mind.
mm,
And that is our natural state. To experience here without narration
mm,
is um, you being you.
mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is, and again, in a couple of my videos, I've talked about just relax. And I know that sounds so oversimplified, but it's like an investigation of mind until we understand so clearly that the answer isn't there. And the attention kind of stops buying into what comes up.
Mm,
And we naturally fall back
mm,
into this effortless state, effortless being.
mm, mm,
This state, there are no concepts.
wow.
So yeah, so you have to imagine, and this is something that I did before when it wasn't coming naturally, when I couldn't just relax.
Yeah.
I would imagine or visualize what would it look like
Yeah.
to never have, if I grew up in the jungle and never learned a single word,
Mm,
what is that like? So in this way, watching our pets, if you have pets or access
yeah.
to um I don't know, even the zoo or whatever, but watching animals, they live in non-conceptual
Yeah.
existence all the time. They are, in a sense, a model for us.
Mm, mm,
We're not going pre-thought. We're not um, foregoing or giving up something that has been gained. It's not like we can't access the mind.
mm,
Using it properly as a tool instead of it impersonating us.
yeah.
This effortless state is right here and now.
Mm,
And it's said that you have everything that you need,
mm,
that you, mm, everything you need to know is within you.
mm,
Um, it's that. It's a kind of everything I just said. If you take it and squish it all together, relaxing, releasing all concepts, and just being, then bliss and
mm,
wisdom, these are built in. They're built
mm,
in. They're not newly acquired parts of an experience. They are part
mm,
of the human experience.
mm,
Those can be accessed.
yeah. I mean that. I mean, a couple of years ago, I did transcendental meditation. I was keeping that up for so long and finding moments, but it's as I've kind of not continued with it really. The sensations have just seemed to have got so loud, and I find it so impossible to find time to kind of just meditate. I mean, it sounds terrible, but
And then,
it's I feel that I could benefit from just really going back to that. But it still seems I know it's effortless and it should be effortless, but it still seems like a doing. And the mind is telling me it's something that I have to achieve or work at to get to. You know what try all the doors. And
yeah.
then suddenly, yeah.
Have you watched the videos or no, since you've read the book, the part about dropping beliefs? how did that sit with you, and where do you
It,
feel like you would be in that process? Or
that's a good question. It's something that I can see and I can get intellectually, and I can see how, my beliefs do hold me fast, I think. Um, but it's almost like, where would I be without them? How can I almost, they are underpin my very existence, I think.
yes, so that's a very honest question, very pivotal question. That is, when you investigate, you'll see that is ego.
Mm,
Ego says this is all there is.
mm. Yeah,
So if we drop this, what's left?
yeah, yeah,
And the answer really is not much. You are no thing. So all the things being dropped is a part of this.
oof,
And
yeah,
sitting with that, really imagining, okay, what does life look like without thoughts? I mean,
yeah,
the ego is going to say it's very boring. It's
yeah,
very understimulating, especially with a demanding career. And, you know, there's also the fact that society is going to encourage the ego at every turn. I mean,
mm,
our family, our friends, our coworkers, advertisements driving by on a bus, all are drawing us in.
yeah,
And so we also have to come to grips with the fact that we may differ from
yeah,
all of that, and the ego doesn't like that.
mm,
In a way, it may, because the ego likes to create division
mm,
between myself and everything else, right? But this is something that has kind of sunk in a new layer recently for me.
yeah,
But the if I'm not the human, then nobody is the human.
mm,
Nobody is the cat. Nobody is the tree. It's all being experienced
mm,
in a kind of collective mental place. Again, in the book, that means that all so-called enemies or others are illusory.
yeah,
I'm not standing as the human against the world.
mm,
If
wow,
we apply the concept of God to this, um, God created all and said it was good. If we take the stand of being that, then it is all good.
mm,
What what commentary could possibly apply to that? There's no,
mm,
what protective measure needs to occur.
mm, yeah, yeah.
Some of
That's
that,
freeing. That's so freeing. That's so free. That's so freeing, isn't it?
it
To
is
just,
freeing, yeah, but not to the ego.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like when I'm having a day, unfortunately, where the sensations are so, like a flaring, and they've been not like this for a while. I think when they are like this, as you may remember, it's so hard to sort of feel that there can be anything else but this. You know what I mean? And everything is good, even I'm okay, even though I don't feel it. And that I have to, that I can see how just sitting with it for more often, I can. it-
Pain is hard to reconcile that way. If the body is in pain, how can all be good? This is
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
all it is.
yeah,
When pain comes up, we can access, like I was talking about, the mode that's just prior to that. The way this comes through in this case
yeah,
is that the body feels like nothing.
Mm.
It's like pain is there, but it's like it's an inch away
Yeah.
or dull. Like it becomes dull.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed
Yeah.
that if you are in pain, you will typically feel it much more when you lay down to go to sleep or when you're doing nothing
Yeah.
because the attention is on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Energy flows where attention goes.
Mm.
I think I heard that so many times, that it kind of desensitized me to the
Yeah.
meaning of it. But literally, with the koshas, if my attention is completely on physical, energetic, and mental, that's the experience.
Yeah.
It's very limited, it's very disconnected from who I actually am.
Yeah.
So there is just a simple shifting of attention
Mm.
to a different mode.
Yeah. That
So,
sounds good. That sounds really, yeah. I understand. I see that.
yeah, in that way, and this is also something I talk about in the book, we don't have to sit down to meditate.
Mm.
The mind, this mind, so chaotic, so-called ADHD. I don't know if you guys call it something else, but
Yeah. It's just the same. Yeah.
um, I, in this experience, I don't believe it's a disorder, or at least not the way that it's said. I believe it's a natural response to environment.
Yeah.
And then it sends up warning lights,
Yeah.
which basically manifests as fear of the present moment.
Yeah.
I want to be anywhere but here all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So meditating was particularly challenging. A long time spent, very little progress. So when I talk about doing one thing at a time, you're doing the
Yeah.
dishes, you're only doing the dishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think there's kind of a pun in the title of the book that isn't always picked up, but
Mm.
it's non-conceptual awareness.
Mm.
It's the natural state while
Mm.
the dishes are being done.
Yeah.
You- You're not doing the dishes are being done by the
Yeah.
human. So in that way, we can live as a meditation.
Mm. Yeah.
Time doesn't need to be carved out.
No,
You
no,
walk
no.
across the street, a trigger occurs. Okay, walking across the street, only doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's, we can be so, our attention can be, we're so switched on all the time, aren't we? The phone, the television, the news. If we're not careful, everything's going, and, you know, walking, yeah, it's absolutely true, isn't it? The world we live in at the moment keeps us constantly on edge, constantly alert. But I can see, it's all making sense. I understand, one thing at a time, crossing the street, walking the dog, sitting in the garden, looking at the, yeah. Sorry.
no, that's great.
Yeah.
What you just said is another layer of support that we can give ourselves. But this is something that I don't necessarily want to recommend to you, but present as an option. I do not watch the news. I
No,
am
no.
not up on everything that's happening.
Yeah.
I am fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I talk to people, there's such a clear awareness of the fact that they're living an entirely different reality to me.
Yeah.
And that's simply from no news.
Mm.
But so many are so immersed
Yeah.
that they can't even see the constant warning signs the body is sending that say, I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm contracted. I'm acting like a small, limited human, you
Yeah.
know.
No, that's true. I mean, that is very true. I've tried to switch it off, and I'm not as informed as I was.
Yeah, it's just kind of setting the scene, you know. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's certainly.
Experience that you
I have desisted for in recent months, just not being as informed as I was. Even I used to devour newspapers, which I don't anymore. Just try and be a bit more present than I've ever been. But it's taken me 30 years to the damage has been well, damage. You know, the constriction has become. It has to be. I can't avoid it now. I have to.
when when the warning lights go off in the body and they're ignored, they get
But
louder.
yeah, then they have done for me. They have. I regret to say. But there we are. It's what happens, isn't it?
The body is functioning perfectly though.
Yeah.
That in this experience was what bridged the gap.
Mm.
The recognition that the body is functioning perfectly.
Mm.
What is there to resist? And then there
Mm.
became a gratitude for the pain.
Yeah.
This was twisted up in the mind for a while. The
Yeah.
mind did not want to accept that pain was there because it seemed like giving in and saying that it's going to stay there forever.
Yeah. That's exactly where I am. Yeah.
The paradox is that when we let go, that is the
Yeah.
what is
I
it?
mean, sometimes in the pain, it can be quite exquisite, can't it? When you open up to it, it's
Yeah,
almost beautiful. It's almost beautiful, isn't it? And it's you think it's poison and it's going to devour you, but if you've got no choice and you just sit with it, you can just get into the most tranquil bliss, if you will, in the midst of the most horrific. Well, there's a beauty to it almost, isn't there? It's like liquid gold almost, and it's right in the heart of the pain.
that's
But
you.
yeah, it's just it's almost sometimes it's too frightening. You're running away from the pain all the time. Distract. You know, have a bath, drink something, read. But if you just sit down and be with it, and you go to the heart of it, it's exquisite, isn't it? And it can be, you know it's right. That's the answer. You know, in all the poison, there is the cure. You know,
Yeah,
it's sort of, but it's just not being brave enough to do that. You know, anyway, but that's it. It's just beginning to see that, I think.
yeah. What you just described, the bliss, the exquisiteness, and the pain, that is exactly what you're sort of shooting for.
Yeah,
And of course, there is no real shooting for it in this moment right now.
yeah,
Nothing needs to be done. You
yeah,
are it. You're just watching a human
mm,
complicate matters with another human.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the stories come up. The stories come up like tomorrow. I've got to go and do a case. Thursday, Friday, I've got to do. How will you manage if you're in this pain? You know what it's like, the chatter, isn't it? And then it's like I am the chatter, and it's so big and real and scary that it's just beginning to see that, hey, you know, no, and going back, taking a step back, as you say, that's a delightful image.
Yeah. Dropping the beliefs is I don't know that I've been explicit about that, but it is a more surface level thing that eventually is going to come down to recognizing that that voice is impersonating you every
Mm,
time. So it won't be necessarily working with the content anymore, but it will be, oh, the voice has come up again. The voice is impersonating me. The content of it doesn't even matter.
mm,
The voice is impersonating me.
mm,
That's the recognition over and over and over that you will
mm,
continue to have.
mm.
So, oh yeah, I think I have said this. We don't have to drop every belief, and that's where the mind says, "Oh, this what hard work."
Yeah,
All these nameless beliefs that came from something that happened with the neighbor kid when I was 3 years old,
yeah,
and it happened when I was 8, and I took away this belief from it. That doesn't need to happen.
Mm. Wow.
The
That's
recognition, we do it a few times, you know. We can dismantle the really big stuff. If we have some belief system that is ruling everything, and especially if there's the recognition that or maybe our social circle is built around that belief system, we can start to disentangle. But yeah, this is just going to lead us to the recognition that this voice is always false
mm, mm.
every single time.
It's, I mean, it's beautiful, but it's still, it just seems so real, doesn't it? And it's still, tenacious. Almost. It feels that's how it feels sometimes. Well, today,
The voice feels uh
too real.
powerful or like compelling.
Yeah, compelling. That's it. That's the word.
It's just energy. So if you just kind of stare at it metaphorically, stare
Yeah.
at its compelling voice, it becomes like a child. It becomes
Mm.
very silly sounding. It's just, it's here, it's there, it's doing all this. And at some point, a shift occurs where it's like, I am all knowing, all powerful. This guy doesn't know anything. You're like, what's
Yeah.
he even talking about?
Yeah.
So, with that, the voice does lose power.
Mm.
It almost becomes like an echo, like
Mm.
it's chiming in from somewhere, but it doesn't feel like you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So if you just keep working with that, just
Mm.
keep inspecting and kind of staring at it.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. That's helpful. That's helpful. It's almost, I feel like I've got to keep on reading. I've got to keep on, going through the books,
I'm glad you
watching a
brought that
little.
up.
Yeah.
That is part of the content, right? That is sustaining the mind. We
Mm.
can we can read. It's paradoxical, you know. Everything we need to know is within us.
Yeah.
But if we can't grasp that, we don't know how to access that. We can't
Mm.
get to the wisdom layer of the human experience. So we take in enough that we now know how to get to that.
Yeah.
From there it is us. So I am a proponent of letting go of content, including mine.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think my content is very dense either. I try to stay away from things that like the intellectual,
Yeah. Yeah.
but any of it, any voice coming from anywhere other than here, at some point you will let go of this, the kind of disentangling that needs to happen from your character, only you will know how to do.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. 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 And it's doable, isn't it? It is doable. It feels like sometimes that it's not, but you know, I- it's a journey, isn't it? I can see it will open up to me.
It can open up in this moment right now.
Yeah.
The idea that it will take time
Yeah.
is an
Exactly.
illusion, which I continually had to remind myself of, you know. I had this idea, okay, 10 more years, or like, let
Yeah.
me something,
Yeah.
but that is ego.
Mm.
That is a back door of mind preserving itself.
Mm.
It's very subtle. But when that comes up, that is a belief.
Mm.
Belief that it takes time. I inspect it. Where does that belief come from? Well, from society. Society
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
that I have to sit alone in a cave for 3 years straight, or I have to sell all my belongings, or I have to, only wear like a linen robe or like whatever, there are these ideas, these concepts
Mm.
attached to so-called enlightenment. And, what even is that?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
none of that applies, or none of it necessarily applies.
Mm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
in this moment, if we are to let go of all concepts, what that looks like is bringing your awareness first to the sounds in the room
Mm.
that perhaps were below the level of attention just moments ago.
Lovely, lovely.
What do you notice?
Just the dropping, nice dropping. Hear the birds outside. Breath, space, just spontaneous. Mm.
Yeah. And then when we take that in, we can then make the distinction and shifting our languaging around this. So we say, I am aware. I'm aware of the birds. I'm aware of the light from the window.
Mm.
So the human is not aware. The human is, we can reduce it, let's say, to a telescope. It's a
Yeah,
telescope with speakers or headphones
yeah.
through which awareness is experiencing. It's just a tool. And so if we say, I hear, there's this idea that the human being is
Yeah.
hearing. Just prior to the ego, the mind picking up that it is hearing, is awareness registering this.
Mm.
That is it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the distinction.
There's no middleman, is there? There's no, we don't, it's just there. It's just there, isn't it? I don't have to go to little, mini me, little me, to think that it has to do and accept and receive and hear all that. It just is, isn't it? It just is.
And the commentary is extra.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that just prior to that commentary, that mode is completely effortless.
Mm. You can hear the mind saying, you can't survive without me. What are you doing? You're just looking at, how dare you not filter all this through me?
Yes, and that is actually excellent evidence that you are not that. I mean, look at how it's acting.
Mm.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
all you're doing is hearing, all you're doing is registering sound and looking, and the mind is saying, no, no, no.
Mm.
It's so
Wow.
transparent in its efforts.
That's such a great illustration. Like a child, isn't it? Screaming, how dare you? How
Yes.
dare you?
In the book, I say it's like a child who spilled his juice and it's or is upset about having orange juice over apple juice. And it's like,
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
why does this condition need to be placed on happiness?
Wow.
In the case of the child, there's a kind of adjustment because children know that their awareness,
Mm.
they just, or, within the child experience, awareness is still aware. There's no concepts, no conditions added, but there is this limitation. There is this sense of something's strange. I appear to be apart from myself.
Mm.
And
Wow.
the contraction starts.
It's a great place to hang out, you know, just being aware now of the wind in the trees. It's just there, and there's
And
more space. It cut out the little middleman. It's just cut him out. Like,
and
I've
the
never done that, and I never thought that I could do that. And I can hear the, you know, the screaming, "No." Yeah. But it's a big building block, that, isn't it? It's the first step along the path almost, I think, for me. It's just good
what
evidence.
what
Just
what what is happening right now is
yeah,
it. That's
yeah, it just
all. That's all you
yeah,
have to do.
well, I mean, just having one's eye on that for the remainder of the day, it's kind of beautiful, and it's felt in the body as well.
As
And
bliss.
yes, it just opens up, and you know, it's like putting your feet into a warm bath, and you're just thinking, "Well, this is very nice." You know, it's very inviting. You know, it's just yeah,
It's also like um taking off a tight glove.
exactly. That's it. That's right.
And so in this way, we can move beyond meditation.
Wow,
This is it. This is the natural state prior to mind's interference.
wow.
The mind will naturally, we could say, rewire. There are no circuits. There are really no circuits. There's no
Mm,
physical entity to contend with. The brain is in the physical plane. It's only showing the results of mental activity. We don't need to rewire some physical brain.
mm.
It
'Cause
can,
that's a big red herring, isn't it? When it comes to pain, the neural circuits habitually you need to rewire your brain to get out of pain. You need to think this way, and yeah, it's quite scary, isn't it? And quite challenging to think that your brain's all messed up, and it needs, you know, it's going to take years to keep work. You know, it's so refreshing. Anyway, sorry.
I mention a teacher, S.N. Goenka in my book
You
of
do,
the
yeah.
Vipassana meditation course. He was a successful businessman following in his family's business, but he had debilitating migraines.
Mm,
So, high powered career, accepted in society, supposedly everything good you could want, but these terrible migraines. He went to one Vipassana, one 10-day course, and he never had a migraine again.
oh, there we are. There we are.
And that's just
Oh,
mind.
yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. But that's it, isn't it? That is it. What's going on?
Yeah. The
Wow.
body is just an instrument panel saying what the mind is doing. There is no malfunctioning body.
Mm, that's lovely. That's lovely. Because it becomes just this, you know, dying entity. It just that's beyond repair, beyond hope almost. The mind tells you that. It's badly wired, faulty wiring.
It's all cause and effect. Everything happening out there is just chaotic cause and effect.
Wow.
But the natural state is transcendent of that.
Mm,
It's not affected.
wow. That's beautiful. I mean, it's so freeing to see that. I mean, what I've been doing, what's been happening here, you know, buying into that, and you know, the negativity and it's I see it, and it's just stepping in the right direction now, and attention onto the right thing. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah, and
you.
it is just attention.
Wow. Well, you know, doors swinging open, you know, I can see, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, it's
And it's really nothing, right? I mean,
well,
all of the complication of a so-called journey, it's right here. It's right here, it's right now. It requires no no books. It's just this.
yeah. I mean, I see that. I get it. I see the direction. But I mean, almost the mind comes in and says, your body is so knackered, and all this constriction is, it's going to take time to unwind. You know, do you know what I mean?
It
But it
will
is,
unwind in proportion to releasing of concepts.
yeah. That's good. That's a great answer. But it perfect. It makes sense.
And so this is where we can say that it does take time until we realize that it doesn't.
Lovely.
As long as the belief is there that this takes time, the mind is going to function in accordance with that.
Mm,
And thoughts will continue to flow and they'll have these energetic
yeah.
charges.
Wow. I mean, I feel now I could just go out the house and just run and just, you know what I mean? It just, it's,
I get goosebumps and a lot of like bliss adjacent feeling, like sensations, um, talking about this because it's such a nothing that has
it's
been,
huge, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
it's everything, isn't it? It's just what the world is missing, isn't it? It's just such a, it's just, it doesn't almost have to be grasped, does it? It just is. It just is. And it's continually, as you say, seeing it. And but yeah, just hanging out in that space, isn't it? Really, just,
Is that
you know,
all that now? I mean, you know exactly what's going on. All that is required, so called, is to stabilize the state that you're experiencing and then to integrate it so the state itself will course correct
yeah,
thing around it.
that's lovely. That's beautiful. It's just touching into that space, isn't it? And you know, the more, I suppose, the more one does it, the more, you know, the beauty there is. I mean, it's beautiful. This tiny glimpse, you know.
Yes.
I say tiny glimpse. I'm sure it's everything, isn't it? But my mind wants to tell me, you know, it's wow. It's yeah,
Yeah, so there will begin to be like a rapturous sense just looking at the construction of a window. You
mm,
know, I mean, the line of it, the appearance of it in awareness. It's not the conditioned sort of eyeballs that don't see half of what's out there.
mm,
You know, you suddenly there's the recognition of the wonder in everything.
mm, mm. Oh, wow. I mean, it's overwhelming, isn't it? It is quite literally.
It is at first, but as the gaps between this experience are bridged,
Mm,
it it is less like this kind of burst
yeah,
of joy relation, um, and it just feels more like steady peace.
yeah. 'Cause I mean, I feel now I've got to try and. It's like, right, you know, what when you ride a bike, I've got to try and remember how to do it now. I've got to. The mind's telling me
And
you'll
the
never get
mind
there
says,
again.
write down the steps so you can do it again.
exactly. Yeah.
There are no steps.
They see exactly, isn't it? Oh,
People keep asking or commenting on videos and saying, how do I do it? And then this mind is saying, you have to give them something. And then, but then it says, no, I don't.
no,
There's
no,
nothing.
no, no, no. Just point in the direction, isn't it? It's just almost, you know,
Yes.
you just look over here.
And that
Uh,
over here really is everywhere.
yeah, yeah,
That the the space that has been overlooked
yeah,
is
yeah,
becomes the kind of the content or becomes the where the attention is.
yeah, yeah,
And then the body reflects that. The body almost takes on a more
yeah.
spacious
It does. Yeah,
trait.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
feel much more
or what
expansive.
happens if you take this contracted down body and you
Yeah,
introduce space,
yeah.
everything heals.
That's it. I do feel that. Wow. So it's just going this way. You've pointed the path. Thank you. That's so wonderful. And what would happen? What happens? You know, how frequency should I carry on? I mean, you're showing me the way, but I mean, what does one do now? Is it do I what should I do? Sorry, again, mind turning it into a ABC.
You seem to have a solid grasp of this, and this way is you. You know, so
See how it
my
sits.
recommendation is do this every second, all the time. But if that seems challenging at first to the mind to maintain, then what you can do, I think this is mentioned in the book, you can start with some kind of trigger activity like crossing the street or doing the dishes. And then, so maybe you say, okay, every time I get in my car, that's a reminder to, I'm going to be present throughout the, or, you know, I
Yeah,
get on the subway or the tube, whatever.
yeah,
Um, that's the signal to go into that state. And then, you know, if it feels overwhelming at first, then maybe this isn't practiced
mm,
on public transportation or in a you know room full of people expecting you to do your job. Maybe it's you know dishes
yeah,
and you know the hour after waking up or whatever it is, and then you just it is embodied or it is practiced or gone into more times of day.
yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine.
It is even it isn't even that linear.
No, no,
It's
no.
not like, okay, I'm going to spend a year slowly ramping up this in a very logical and predictable way. Like things will begin to happen
Mm,
in your
yeah,
experience that will accelerate this
yeah.
shift for you because awareness wants to show itself to itself.
Lovely. Well, that's great, Heather. Thank you.
It
Thanks.
is.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
beautiful.
Thanks for your help. Honestly, it's you know, and the book as well. You know, it's all the groundwork is there. I think essential reading before chatting. Yeah, just doing the exercises at the moment, and then I've got the last chapter, chapter 10 to go. So,
Chapter 10's
but
pretty short and sweet. There's not a lot going on in there. A little Harry Potter reference.
I can't wait. Anyway, I'm sure it'll
Only.
all, you know,
Something to sit with will be reframing.
right.
Start changing the language part of the mind. Speaking less in terms of identification with the human to the extent that you can still be understood
Mm,
by the general folks around you,
mm,
will be something that will really help to
right.
rewire.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm aware of thoughts coming up saying this. I'm aware
Well,
of the sensation of this. I'm aware that this emotion is coming up.
yeah.
And the more you do that, the less the emotion can possibly
Yeah.
um, have a strong electric charge.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. I could see that already.
You're
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of free, a lot of sort of freedom already. Thank you.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
It's quite
And I think
exciting. Yeah,
yes, yes, you were primed and ready to go.
right. And your videos on YouTube are great as well. So thank you. Keep them coming.
Glad they're helpful.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much indeed.
welcome. Sounds good. Okay.
Lovely to meet you. Thanks. Thanks, Heather. All the best. Have a great day.